My name is Natalie Archer, and I'm 32. The night my boyfriend went live from his bachelor party and said, "Be honest, should I even marry her?" I didn't cry. I didn't bargain. I turned a wine glass we weren't using in a dish towel until the rim sang a thin note that faded into the quiet of my kitchen. In my mind, I snapped a contractor's chalk line, blue dust, floating for a breath before settling into a straight future. That line was where the rest of my life would stand. On screen, the phone camera swung and shuddered. The best man, Cameron, was sloppy with laughter, framing himself and Evan like they were hosts of a low-rent talk show. Evan wore a sash someone had made as a joke. "Future Mister?" in glitter letters, the question mark crooked and loud. Behind them, a chorus of bar whoops, neon lights. The kind of room where everyone insists this is normal, that cruelty counts as humor if you pour enough liquor over it. "Real talk," Cameron slurred, getting too close to the camera so his pores looked like the moon. He yanked Evan into the frame. "You're about to be locked down. How does it feel?" Evan took a swig from a bottle like he was trying on arrogance and found it fit. "Natalie's, you know." He wobbled his hand, searching for a word, then smiled a little too wide. "Stable." Laughter, a voice from off-screen. "But is she fun?" He leaned in, conspiratorial, the kind of intimacy you perform for strangers. "She's great at planning. Responsible. My mom loves her." He winced theatrically. "But is it enough?" He let the words dangle like bait. "Honestly, guys." He looked sideways to catch Cameron's grin. "Should I even marry her?" The chat exploded. Hearts, crying, laughing emojis, comments sprinting up the screen. "Run, bro. Cold feet is a sign. LOL. Imagine spreadsheets in bed." There wasn't an explosion inside me. No heat. Just a click. A clean, precise click, like a lock turning. The sound you hear when the door you thought was yours swings inward and reveals a hard, bright hallway. I typed from my personal account, the one with my face on it. "Don't bother." I didn't wait to see the reaction. I closed the app. The silence in the apartment turned crystalline, sharp enough to cut rope. Practicality arrived like muscle memory. Venue. I opened my texts and pulled up our coordinator, Deborah. "Hi, Deborah. This is Natalie Archer. Please consider this formal notice that I'm canceling our wedding, scheduled for October 12th. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. Kindly confirm receipt. Thank you. Send." Vendors. The caterer. I just paid that afternoon. Subject line: cancellation, event number 24601. "Hello. Further to today's payment, the event is canceled as per contract. I understand the initial deposit and this evening's payment are non-refundable. No further action required. Send." Shared planning. Our massive Google sheet. Budgets, guest list, vendor contacts. File, make a copy. Save to my private drive. Back to the original. Share. Evan Miller. Remove access. Click. The phone rang. Cameron's face on caller ID. Same face I'd just seen sweating into a camera for applause. I let it ring out. A text landed immediately. "Call me now." Another. "What did you do?" Then the one that made it real. Deborah just emailed Evan a cancellation confirmation, WTF. I turned the phone face down on the counter and poured a tall glass of water. The house was very, very quiet. He'd asked a question. I'd answered. The rest, as always, was paperwork. My phone started vibrating again, an angry insect trapped in a jar. Evan this time. "Natalie, what the hell was that?" he demanded as soon as I picked up. "What you saw," I said, "a decision." "It was a joke," he snapped. "I was drunk. It's my bachelor party." "Was it a joke when you said my stability was a diagnosis? Or when the comments told you to run and you smiled into the lens?" I asked. "You weren't asking a question, Evan. You were auditioning." "It's better this way," he said, honeying his voice like butter on a blade. "No big blow-ups. We can still be friends. Same circles. You're great, Nat. Just not, fun great." I could hear the room behind him, someone yelling for shots, the throat of the night opening wide. "This part is simple," I said. "The wedding is canceled. I'll handle my obligations. You handle yours." "Natalie, don't be dramatic," he said, leaning on the word dramatic like it could pin me to the floor. "We both know you love controlling the logistics. Just uncancel it in the morning." "You're not the project," I said. "You're the risk assessment." I hung up. I forwarded the venue cancellation to Jack Miller, his father, the one who'd covered the initial deposit. FYI, no body text. He deserved to know where his money went. A group chat I didn't ask to be in bloomed on my screen, supporting Evan. Cameron's opener was a PR pamphlet written in a hurry. Evan's devastated. Natalie overreacted to a silly joke. She's refusing to talk. Hearts poured in. The collective fantasy wrote itself. I was the villain because he had decided on an audience. I didn't reply. I logged out of the Canva Pro account he and Cameron used for their brand experiments, changed the Adobe password, and logged every device out of the Amazon household profile where my card was primary. I was done underwriting other people's theater. At 1:12 a.m., a text popped up from an unsaved number. I knew the cadence before I saw the name. Samantha, wild night. Tell me you didn't cancel for real. He didn't mean it like that. His ex-girlfriend. The shadow that had never quite left the wall. I archived the thread without replying. By late Friday afternoon, I heard the rattle of keys in the lock. Evan's suitcase wheels skimmed our hardwood like an apology he hadn't rehearsed. He stood in the doorway, eyes red around the rims, the sash replaced by a hoodie that said Boys Trip 2025. You have 5 minutes to explain yourself, he said, voice trembling with a rage that felt unearned. Explain why you humiliated me. Explain what exactly? I asked, placing my bookmark. You posed a question to an audience. I gave you an answer. It was a joke, he said, escalating. You don't blow up our lives over a stupid joke. You didn't make a joke about yourself, I said. You made a spectacle of me. He went for the money next, like they always do when shame doesn't get traction. My dad's deposit, Deborah says it's gone. We just lost thousands. Your father's money, I said evenly. I paid the caterer's final deposit myself yesterday. I've already emailed Jack. I'll be sending him a check for my half of the non-refundable venue deposit. It's the least I can do. Something flickered across his face, a stumble. He'd expected me to be cruel or chaotic, so he could be the victim. I'd given him paperwork instead. He left that night to stay with Cameron. Good. It made the next phase easier. By morning, Cameron had curated an entire narrative in supporting Evan. She's cold, punitive, heartless. He's crushed. A couple of mutual friends forwarded screenshots to me with cautious little notes. A minor social earthquake radiated outward. Emojis, alliances, the soft power of sympathy. I did some final housekeeping. I drafted an email. To Evan Miller, CC Jack Miller. Subject, overdue rent for Apt 4B, due 10. Evan, this is a reminder that your half of the rent, $1,100, is now 5 days overdue. As per our signed lease, we are both responsible for the full amount. Failure to pay will impact both our credit scores and may result in eviction proceedings. Please remit payment immediately. If you wish to be removed from the lease, you'll need to sign the release with the landlord and pay your share up to that date. Regards, Natalie. The call came 10 minutes later. I can't believe you CC'd my dad, he yelled. Hi, Evan, I said, putting him on speaker so I could keep stirring my coffee. Are you calling to say you paid the rent? I'm not paying rent for a place I'm not living in. You kicked me out. You left after you torched our engagement, I said. Our legal obligation to the landlord didn't leave with you. I'm protecting my credit score. You should protect yours. You're trying to ruin me. No, I said quietly. I'm paying my bills. I hung up. The apartment exhaled. On the fridge, a photo from last summer smiled back at me. 2 people in bright sun, small and hopeful. I felt grief for them both, but especially for the woman who thought this was a door and not a hallway. The feeling passed. The line I'd snapped in my head was clear and straight. Beyond it, the work of rebuilding waited. Unflashy, steady, mine. Part 2. The next week blurred into what I started calling the silent storm. No shouting, no tears, just paperwork, notifications, and the quiet crackle of reputations rearranging themselves online. Cameron had apparently taken it upon himself to be Evan's spokesperson. He curated updates like a tabloid editor. He's heartbroken, but she's ruthless. Natalie won't even let him get his stuff. We're all just trying to help him through this. It was a masterclass in performance, a PR campaign born from the same instinct that had made Evan go live in the first place. He didn't want closure, he wanted sympathy. And Cameron, always auditioning for relevance, delivered. I kept my replies as receipts. A simple email to our building manager, CC'd to both Evan and his father. Per our lease, Evan Miller remains responsible for 50% of rent until his name is removed from the contract. Non-payment after 10 days will be reported as delinquent. A confirmation came back within the hour. The system worked fine when you spoke its language. Formal, documented, unemotional. But Evan didn't speak that language. He texted instead. Evan, you're really going to tank my credit over a few $100s? Me. No, Evan. I'm going to protect mine. Evan. This isn't who you are. Me. You keep saying that like you know. By midweek, the texts stopped coming from him and started coming from his younger sister, Danny. She showed up in person. No knock, just the jingle of keys and the lock she still had. Her posture screamed confrontation before her mouth opened. Wow, she said, glancing around the apartment. Cold. You really kicked him out and kept all the furniture? I didn't bother to explain that I'd bought the furniture. Do you need something, Danny? Yeah, she said, folding her arms. You need to stop. You're making him look bad. He's doing that himself. Her eyes narrowed. You sound like a robot. You loved him. I did, I said. Then he humiliated me in front of half the internet. She flinched, maybe because she'd seen the clip. Then she tried again, softer this time. He's a mess. Drinking, barely sleeping. Just give him a break. Giving him a break, I said, was every day before the live stream. I walked her to the door. You should go. Her parting shot. You've really changed. I haven't, I said. I just stopped cushioning the fall. When the door clicked shut, the quiet came rushing back. The refrigerator hummed. The city outside went on living. And I realized no one had ever accused Evan of changing, only me. That night, I started sorting through drawers, half to clear space, half to think. That's when I noticed it, the empty spot on my nightstand. My grandmother's watch was gone. It wasn't expensive by market standards, just an antique with a small mother-of-pearl face and her initials engraved on the back. But it was one of the few things I had left of her. Evan used to tease me for calling it our watch because I let him borrow it for interviews. It gives good luck, he'd said. Apparently, luck was portable. I texted him. Me. You have my grandmother's watch. Please return it. No answer. Me. 5 minutes later. If Cameron's picking up your things tomorrow, make sure he brings it back. I'll be home until 4. Then I sent an email for record keeping, copied his father again. Subject, collection of personal items and return of family heirloom. Evan, I'm fine with Cameron picking up your belongings tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Please ensure he also returns my grandmother's watch, which was on my nightstand. For clarity, I've attached our text exchange from July when you asked to borrow it. It needs to be returned tomorrow. Natalie. The CC to Jack wasn't for show. It was a quiet reminder that some things were too sacred to become collateral damage. The next afternoon, I came home from work to an apartment that felt ransacked by ghosts. His clothes were gone, bathroom shelves half empty, a few decorative items I'd bought for us missing too. But what stopped me was the nightstand. Bare wood, a faint circle where the watch box had sat. He'd kept it. The rage that followed wasn't loud. It was surgical, sharp, precise, cold. I didn't throw anything, didn't scream into the walls. I opened my laptop instead. To Jack Miller. Subject, missing heirloom, Jack. Just confirming Cameron collected Evan's belongings today. Unfortunately, my grandmother's watch, silver, mother-of-pearl face, was not returned, though Evan had previously borrowed it. It holds significant sentimental value. Please let me know if you find it among his things. Natalie. Within an hour, Jack replied. Noted. I'll speak to him. That watch belonged to Margaret, didn't it? I remember it. We'll sort this out. His tone was weary but firm, father to father's disappointment. That night, a different kind of message arrived. Cameron. You didn't have to bring his dad into this messy move. Me. Tell Evan to bring back what's mine. Cameron. He says he doesn't have it. Me. Then he's lying. A long pause. Then, Cameron. You know, for someone who loves control, you sure lost it fast. Me. You'd know about losing control. You filmed it. He didn't respond again. 3 days later, an email from Jack. Subject, let's talk. We need to sort this out. All of it. Please meet me and Evan tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. at the Riverside Cafe. Neutral ground. I sat there for a long time, staring at that email, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. Part of me wanted to delete it, block them both, move on. But another part, the one that drew chalk lines in silence, knew the value of closure, even if it came in the form of itemized receipts. I typed back, "I'll be there." The next morning, I put on a clean blouse, tied my hair back, and slipped on a new watch. Cheap, digital, nothing sentimental. The original would return to me, one way or another. Outside, the air smelled like early rain and endings. I walked to the cafe with a calm I hadn't earned yet, but I'd learned to wear it until it fit. Part 3. The Riverside Cafe sat between a dry cleaner and a boutique that never seemed to have customers. It was neutral ground in the truest sense, bland, quiet, and halfway between their world and mine. The kind of place where no one raises their voice because the acoustics would make shame echo. When I walked in, Jack Miller was already there, nursing black coffee with the posture of a man who'd aged 10 years in a week. Across from him sat Evan, slouched in a gray hoodie, pretending the latte foam in front of him had answers. "Thank you for coming," Jack said as I took the empty chair. His voice had that brittle politeness people use when they're about to referee something unpleasant. "Let's keep this simple." "Agreed," I said. Evan looked up then, and for the first time in weeks, his expression wasn't anger. It was embarrassment. The kind that doesn't melt into apology, just curdles in place. Jack reached into his coat pocket and slid a small velvet pouch across the table toward me. "This," he said flatly, "is yours." For a moment, the world narrowed to that small weight on the table. I didn't move right away. My chest tightened, part relief, part grief. I'd imagined this scene 100 ways, but in every version, I was angrier. In this one, I was just tired. Evan didn't look up. His fingers picked at the paper sleeve around his cup. Jack continued. It was never his to keep, and it was beneath him to take it. His tone turned toward his son, sharp enough to cut through the air. "You're lucky she's handling this like an adult." Evan's jaw worked, but no words came out. I opened the pouch. The familiar shimmer of my grandmother's watch caught the light, its delicate band coiled like a question mark. I slipped it into my pocket, careful, like touching a relic. My grandmother had always said, "A woman's worth isn't measured by what she keeps, but by what she refuses to lose." I'd never understood that until now. Jack cleared his throat, pulling out a folded sheet of paper. Now, the practical matters. He adjusted his glasses, reading like it was a business meeting. "I've sent you $1,100 for last month's rent. I've also paid the fee to remove Evan's name from the lease. That chapter's closed." "Thank you," I said quietly. His eyes flicked to Evan. "You're welcome to thank me too, son." Evan muttered, "Thanks," without looking up. The word sounded foreign in his mouth. Jack exhaled, the long sigh of a parent who's finally run out of reserves. "This is the last time, Evan. The very last time I bail you out. You can't keep expecting other people to pay for your consequences." "I didn't ask you to," Evan said, his tone defensive but weak. "You didn't have to," Jack snapped. "You never do." For a moment, none of us spoke. The low hum of conversation from other tables filled the space like static. I took a sip of water, letting the silence stretch. Jack turned back to me. "There's one more thing to settle, the wedding expenses." I nodded. I'd been waiting for that. "It's simple," I said, unfolding my own list. "Evan and your family covered the venue deposit and his suit. I paid the caterer, the photographer deposit, the band, and the entire non-refundable honeymoon to Italy. I also bought my own dress and accessories." Evan finally lifted his head. "So, what? You want me to pay you back?" I almost laughed. "No, you can sell your suit if you want. I'm handling my half." He blinked, thrown by how easily I said it. "What about the dress? You can't return it." "I can sell it or burn it. It's mine either way." Jack's eyes softened slightly. "And the ring?" "That's the next line item," I said. "I'll be selling the engagement ring to recoup part of the honeymoon cost." That got Evan's attention. His head snapped up, eyes wide. "You're going to sell the ring? After everything?" I leaned forward, resting my hands on the table. "The ring was a promise, Evan. You broke it in front of hundreds of people. It's not a symbol anymore. It's just a gemstone. A very sellable one." He flinched like I'd slapped him, but his voice dropped to a murmur. "You make it sound like all of this was easy for you." "Nothing about it was easy," I said softly, "but it's finished." Jack set his cup down, tone final. "Then that's that." Evan stood up abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "You always take her side," he hissed. "I'm not taking sides," Jack said evenly. "I'm taking reality." Evan looked at me one last time. No apology, no understanding, just the hollow stare of someone who still believed the world had wronged him by refusing to bend. Then he walked out. Jack watched him go, then rubbed a hand over his face. "I'm sorry, Natalie. I really am. You didn't deserve that kind of public cruelty." "Thank you," I said, "but I needed to see it. He gave me the truth. I just chose to believe him." That earned me a small, sad smile. "You'll be fine," he said. "You've got your head on straight." That's more than I can say for him. We shook hands, a quiet, respectful end to a story that had already collapsed. Outside, the sky was overcast, a thin drizzle beginning to fall. I pulled my coat tighter, feeling the velvet pouch warm in my pocket. The rain made the world smell clean, like new drywall before the paint goes on. I thought of the chalk line in my mind, the one I'd snapped that night, and realized the dust had finally settled. That evening, I listed the ring for sale online. No caption, no story, just carrot, cut, and clarity. By morning, it had offers. And that was that, part 4. The ring sold in 48 hours. The buyer messaged me with a polite, "Congratulations on moving forward," as if I'd survived something visible. I thanked her anyway. The transaction felt less like loss and more like liquidation, turning sentiment into solvency. After I dropped the package off at the post office, I didn't cry. I went to the cafe next door, ordered an espresso, and watched rain streak the glass. My reflection looked calm, like someone learning to exist in a quieter register. The group chat. Supporting Evan had gone silent by then. Someone must have leaked screenshots of the live stream clip, the one Cameron had tried to delete but couldn't outrun. The internet doesn't forgive easily, especially when cruelty's caught in 1080p. One by one, mutual friends stopped engaging. Their posts became pointedly neutral. Cameron's own followers began leaving comments like, "Still think this is funny?" and "This didn't age well." By the end of the week, he'd locked his account. As for Evan, word drifted through the grapevine. He'd moved back in with his father temporarily. The new job he'd been bragging about on LinkedIn turned out to be short-term contract work. And his ex-girlfriend, Samantha, was suddenly back in his tagged photos, smiling at bars, pretending history hadn't left fingerprints. It was all so predictable I didn't even feel bitterness, just distance, like watching actors perform a show I'd already left. My apartment looked different now. I'd rearranged the furniture, replaced the curtains, painted one wall a soft eggshell white. Clean, uncomplicated. The same space, but remeasured to fit one person. The first night I slept alone without waking in the middle of the dark, expecting another heartbeat beside mine, I dreamed about Italy. The honeymoon that never was. Not the version with the hotel bookings and couple photos, but a different one. Quiet, solitary, mine. When I woke, I booked the flight. Departure, 2 weeks out. Destination, Florence. 1 passenger. It wasn't escapism, it was reclamation. The trip was never about romance, it was about arrival. He had made it a stage. I was making it a threshold. In the meantime, life resumed in small, unremarkable ways. Work emails, grocery runs, the familiar rhythm of stability that Evan once mocked. And yet, in that steadiness, something luminous began to grow, like confidence blooming in a vacuum. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I answered out of habit. "Hi, Natalie," a woman's voice said. "It's Carolyn, Cameron's girlfriend. Or ex, I guess." She hesitated. "I just wanted to say, I saw the clip before it was deleted. You didn't deserve that. None of it." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I'd spent months expecting attacks, not apologies. "Thank you," I finally said. "I hope you're okay." "I will be," she said. "We both will be." It wasn't redemption, but it was closure from an unexpected direction. The morning of my flight, the apartment was spotless. I left my keys with the landlord and took one last look at the space that had carried both humiliation and healing. On my wrist, the restored silver watch caught the early light. Its second hand ticked steadily, patient and precise. At the airport gate, I opened my journal and wrote one line. He wanted a show. I built a story instead. When my boarding group was called, I stood, exhaled, and stepped forward. Through the plane window, clouds unfurled like clean pages. For the first time in a long time, there was no audience, no performance, no damage control, just forward motion and the quiet certainty of my own company. Somewhere below, Evan would still be trying to edit his narrative. Let him. He'd always mistaken silence for defeat. Mine wasn't silence, it was peace.